Okay, good morning. Welcome to the first ever Whitney Young Cross Country Brunch virtual brunch tutorial. We are making breakfast tacos this morning. I have I think all of our stuff set up for us. The first thing you want to do is get the potatoes in the oven because they take the longest to cook. I've got 2 potatoes brushed and peeled and cut kind of small so they cook a little faster. Baking sheet, some butter on there. I like to be very generous with the butter. Here's your little pads. After about 5 minutes in the oven, you want to just kind of toss those after the butter has melted. A little bit of spice on there. This is onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of salt and pepper, and because we're going Mexican flavors with these breakfast potatoes, I like to add just a little bit of chili powder. This is Whole Foods chili powder. It's not spicy. Alright, that's in an oven, 400 degrees or so. Like I said, middle rack. 5 minutes in, you want to toss those so that the butter gets spread evenly and they don't stick to the bottom of the pan. Next, we're gonna refry some black beans and add garlic and onion to that. My wife says she didn't know how to cut an onion until she met me, so I wanted to share my onion chopping technique. It's not mine, but this is how I learned, I'm sure, from my mother. So red onion, yellow onion, white onion, any of them are going to be treated the same. Any of those will work in this refried bean recipe. Cut it halfway through the little plant root part there. Then chop off the end that way. And that is because this gets a little weird to cut, but also to allow you to peel the skin off. It gives you a little something to grab onto. Some onions are a little easier to peel than others, and you know, if you need to peel the last layer to get everything off, that's fine. Then lay it on its flat edge like that. Cut little. Don't cut all the way to the end, that way this can be your handle as you're chopping the rest of it. But close to the end so you can use as much of the onion as you can. All the way through, and then once through the center. Careful with your fingers there. And then we're just going to chop down this way. Good sharp knife, always useful. Make sure that you got your little claw position there, so if the knife slides, it hits your nails and not your fingertips. That's a good one. I've cut my hand a couple different times chopping onions. And there you are. There is a finely chopped onion for our beans. The beans themselves go into a blender. You want to leave a little bit of the liquid in there so that they blend okay. Light blend, I like to leave a little bit of texture in there. So you still got a little onion chunk in there. So now we got our bean chunk. Beans, onions, garlic goes in just before the beans go in, so I will mince that here in a moment. Okay, so next the beans get refried. Start with a generous dose of oil. I like to use olive, but you can do whatever you want. Onions go in first. They need to soften. Just a little bit of salt will help those soften up. And a good spatula, because you're going to use that generously with the onions and the beans. All right, my kitchen assistant is tossing those potatoes to make sure the potatoes don't stick to the bottom and the butter gets distributed. In maybe 2 or 3 minutes, You see those onions are getting soft. They've reduced just a little bit. That's just the right time for the garlic to go in. I've got 3 large cloves of garlic here. I get that third one in. Use your knife cautiously to trim the rest of that. And then that garlic needs maybe 30 seconds to just brighten a little bit. There it is. You'll smell it as it kind of brightens in that oil. The beans, I'm using black beans today. They're my favorite to refry, but you can use a pinto, ranchero, almost any bean can get refried like this. Never tried navy beans. So we've been about 30 seconds there. Here come the beans. Just dump them in. Spatula to make sure you get all that beany goodness in there. And then give that pretty regular turns to get the onions and garlic mixed in, but also to make sure that none of the beans burn on the bottom of the pan. All right, our beans are bubbling now. You see you gotta stir those frequently. What you're looking for is to get kind of the thick consistency. They firm up a little bit when they come off the heat. So they don't need to be really thick, but you want to just let a lot of that moisture evaporate off so you get a good kind of pasty bean mix in here. There you see when you pull the spatula across the beans, it doesn't like flood right back into the space. It leaves a little empty spot and it takes a while to melt back down. You also see the bubbles are starting to get a little firmer. They look like clay or mud pots. And that's when you know your beans are getting pretty close to ready. So I'm gonna pull these off the heat. So these are straight out of the can. They usually come with a little bit of salt or unsalted. So I like to add just a little when they come off the heat and mix in. Less is always better. You can taste it after it cools down a little bit and add more if you need it. And next we're gonna scramble up some eggs for those breakfast tacos. We're using Pete and Jerry's organic eggs, only the freshest eggs in all of the Midwest. I usually go about 2 per person. If you're doing 3 people, maybe 5 eggs is plenty. Crack those into a bowl and scramble them up with a fork. Three and 4. And give them a good, I like to puncture the yolks and then just give them a good, vigorous stir like that. When you see it kind of consistent color, that's when you know you're done. Okay, that looks good. So those eggs that we just whipped into a scramble go into a hot pan with butter. You don't want that pan to be too cool or the eggs will stick. So that looks pretty good. In go our eggs. And then just kind of, like we did with the beans a little bit, fold repeatedly until everything is cooked through. All right, we're checking on the potatoes. Fork through the middle just to make sure that they're cooked through. They get a little crisp when we're cooking them at 400 degrees. It's been 23 minutes, those are ready. Okay, our eggs are done, beans are done, potatoes are ready. Up next, we're almost ready to assemble. Tortillas, fresh from El Milagro on Blue Island, the best tortillas in the world. You can do this in between two microwave safe plates if you don't have a tortillero like I do. They go in, wrap them in a paper towel. They need a little bit of water and about 45 seconds for 4 tortillas. I like to go 44 for Obama. The avocado next. Let's see how it looks. Halved along the way. Get the pit out. Give it a nice firm tap and twist. Out comes the pit. Go this way. And one down the center. That'll come out nice and easy with a spoon. And we are ready to assemble. So these are vegetarian: eggs, beans, potatoes, avocado, and some salsa. If you want to keep it vegan, obviously keep the eggs out. If you want to go meatitarian, you can add your favorite breakfast sausage or bacon. All right, beans go in first, and like a nice line here, like that. Then the potatoes sit nicely in those beans. This looks tasty. Eggs, if you're using them, go in next. A nice healthy portion of eggs in here. And topped off with our avocado here. And then I've got a homemade smoked salsa. Any salsa will do here. Choose your favorite. Spice level accordingly. I like to top it off with a little bit of Cholula too. Here we go. Doesn't that look tasty? Okay, enjoy your breakfast tacos. And we'll see you for virtual team brunch at 10 a.m. on Friday the 19th. Go Dolphins!